I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt. If it had been you that he'd beat to a bloody pulp, if he had taken you from this world, I would have done nothing but search the planet for this pathetic pile of evil death-worshipping garbage and send him off to hell.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's a good time to be a Batman fan. It feels like 1 out of every 2 comments is either Batman or Batman related, so I thought I would bring on Josh McDonald from BatmanNews.com, one of my favorite comic book critics out there. Mostly does the Batman stuff, as you can imagine, to talk about the current state of Batman and where we're at. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well, Wes. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm glad that you could make some time. I know you're a little busy right now, but good to talk about some Batman stuff.
Man, I'm happy to be here. I've watched the show for 3 years now, I think. Time slips, but I'm a fan. So when you reached out, I was pretty excited.
Well, I'm excited. So there's so much Batman stuff going on right now. Me personally, there's 1 week a month where we get Batman the Detective, Batman like Urban Legends, and the Joker story. I'm like, that's a damn good week because I'm going to get all the Batman stuff that I'm really enjoying.
Agreed.
But it feels like that mainline Batman series is the sales have really gone up. It's kind of bounced back from the Tom King era under James Tynion. We had Joker War. He's introducing a lot of new characters. What are your thoughts on just the mainline story?
Well, if you want detailed thoughts, I have reviews of the main Batman issue up on BatmanNews.com. To keep it short, I would say I'm not too fond of it. It's not one of my favorites right now. So we can go into details, but I don't want to go on a 2-hour tangent.
The art is fantastic.
The art is incredible. Jorge Jimenez
probably the best art at DC Comics right now.
100% agreed. I actually got to meet Jorge a few years back at San Diego Comic-Con, and at the time I think he was just working on Earth 2 and he was a featured artist for a panel, and he hadn't met many of the DC people yet in person, and during these panels they're supposed to draw while talking, so he had a translator and they were worried if he was going to be able to draw an image within 10 minutes, and he drew 8 and they were all impeccable, and it was very apparent in that moment this guy is going places. So love him to death.
Yeah, his work on Superman, I didn't know if he would translate quite as well to a darker character like a Batman, but nah, he's got Batman down tight, and his character designs are really cool too. With all the characters cool. that are being introduced, he makes Punchline stand out. We had the designer, maybe too much going on there, but it still looked interesting.
Agreed. Too much, but interesting.
So we did get the DC Comics future state, with the future, the next Batman and Dark Detective, and it feels like we kind of maybe we don't know the finish line to what they're doing in Batman and in Detective Comics, but we essentially know where it's going. I find that it kind of killed my enjoyment just of the Batman series to know that yes, we're going towards the Magistrate. Bruce is gonna pseudo die. There's gonna be a new Batman and. Masks are going to be outlawed. It kind of ruins the fun of where you're going for me. Agreed.
I feel the same way. I think sometimes when you're reading comics, a lot of what drives you month to month is the suspense, and I don't think you have that to a complete degree here because you know the direction they're heading. So yeah, and you mentioned the Magistrate. I did not enjoy the Magistrate during Future State, and I'm not excited that we're going all in with it here. So that's also kind of taking the wind out of my sails as far as the main title is concerned.
Well, it feels retread. We've seen the Boss Thorn take over and make it illegal to be Batman. We're coming off Joker War. Before that, we had City of Bane. It's you got to take something else from Bruce Wayne besides the city. He's got other things he's attached to.
Agreed. Great. At the site, we have a Discord. We all talk. So every week when Batman drops, we're just oh my God, the city's getting destroyed again. Who the hell would live here?
Exactly. Why are people still there? You should be evacuating.
Well, and it just seems cheap at this point. It's almost like the only way you could write a Batman story is either destroying the city or taking over the city. And I don't know. I feel like it's lazy.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the mainline stuff. But the good thing about Batman is there's so many alternate titles, whether it's the Batman family books or the other Batman books. I talked about the 1 week that we get. I am really excited about that Chip Sidarski Batman Urban Legends. The art from Eddie Barrow, not quite as as amazing as the mainline title, but he's still a really good Batman artist. I think he was the artist for Detective Comics under James Tynion. So he's familiar with the character. And I'm really loving that. I really like Jason Todd and this relationship that he has with Blue Hood, this little kid. I think it really works.
Agreed. Chip Sidarski, I think, is an excellent writer. I'm happy to see him at DC. I love his work on Daredevil, and he's really just kind of playing into Jason in a way that I don't think we've ever fully explored to the degree he's wanting to take him. And I like that he's putting Jason in a position where Jason, we always see Red Hood talking about he's bad, but he doesn't really ever do anything too bad. And in this title, you get to see him actually killing people that he probably shouldn't kill. And you see why there's a reason there's a conflict between him and Bruce, but you also get glimpses of why Bruce kind of allows it, because Bruce feels responsible. But yeah, the relationship he's getting with Blue Hood, I think it's helping him kind of see the humanity in himself and what Bruce is trying to push in him, but from Bruce's perspective almost to a degree. So it's a good read. It's excellent.
Well, it is also giving the character more purpose. You can only be Punisher light for so long.
Agreed.
And where, it looks like Jason Todd killed somebody, so Batman's going to try and stop him, and then they fight for an issue, and then it works out. You got to do something else. So I'm digging.
I was going to say, how many times since the New 52 have we heard "Not in my city"? Bruce telling it to Jason. It does get old. You got to do something different.
Yeah, so I'm definitely liking that one. The next one that I'm enjoying is the James Tynion, the Joker story. Not so much the backup punchline stuff, but like the idea that Joker's in Europe and Jim Gordon's gonna go kill him works for me. I like that. That's a really cool thing. He's done a lot of bad things. Jim Gordon's retired. He doesn't have to be the Gotham PD commissioner anymore. I think being able to coax him into doing it with $25 million probably isn't necessary. I think he probably would have just gone and taken him down if he had the chance. But that's a cool book. It should be called Gordon.
Oh, it should. I understand. Called it Joker. Joker's going to sell way better than Gordon. But this was actually a book that when it was announced, I got the press release email and I rolled my eyes and I went to our Discord and was like, shoot me now. And I'm loving it, man. I'm not going to lie. Like the focus on Gordon is extremely exciting. And I typically say that I don't think Tynion's the best writer when it comes to superhero comics, but this, I feel like he's just really digging into character. We're getting a lot of Gordon's history and his past and why he makes decisions, and you get to see kind of what separates Gordon from Batman. They're both good guys, but as a cop, I think sometimes you understand, at times taking a life might be necessary, and that's where they separate themselves, and you're really getting to explore that here, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I love Year One so much. Is it's almost as much of a Gordon story as a Batman story, or the Long Halloween. It's like the triumvirate. You got Gordon.
Yep.
Dent and Bruce Wayne kind of working together, and I like it when Gordon's kind of at the front and center and kind of a man of action rather than someone that's just giving information to Batman so we can go on in this next mission.
Agreed. It's nice when Gordon's an actual character and not a prop. 100%.
Yeah, so I'm digging that one. And then the next one we'll talk about is the Tom Taylor Batman the Detective. I believe it was originally going to be called The Dark Knight. I guess they didn't want any confusion whether or not that was going to be in Frank Miller's universe. The art is probably the second best illustrated book, and I forgot to mention Guy March on the Joker is doing great, but I think it's Adam Kubert, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, Adam Kubert's art is amazing. It's so gorgeous, but it feels like Tom Taylor hasn't quite got there yet. It's like he hasn't found the voice of this miniseries and what it's really going to represent. So you're getting wonderful art. The story is fine, but after reading those two Tom Taylor Batman annual comics that he produced that I thought were excellent, I was expecting maybe, I don't know if it was more of a character exploration or just something more to it. But it's good, but
Agreed. I do think it's taken a little time to find its footing. I think the second issue definitely kind of helped solidify where he might be going with this, bringing in Ducard and kind of touching on that. So that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. But yeah, it's not as much of a home run out of the gates as I was expecting it to be based on what Tom Taylor has done with Batman in the past. And Kubert's art, excellent. And I just have flashbacks to Grant Morrison and his run on Batman with Kubert. So that's always a nice little throwback.
Yeah, I kind of like the future Bruce Wayne with no family left. He's like scarred to hell. He looks more like the Punisher than Bruce Wayne anymore. He's kind of he still has vengeance in his heart, but maybe he doesn't quite have all the apparatus around him. He's going to have to get his hands dirty, kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest complaints is Batman is so technologically driven right now that anytime he has a problem, he hits a button.
Yep.
Like, oh, here's your answer. Yeah. He's the world's greatest detective. Go in there and get some fingerprints. Do a little detective work.
Right. I completely agree with that. And this kind of goes back to the whole Batman story too, like the main title line. We took Bruce's money away in the aspect of making him, like forcing him back into that aspect. And I feel like in the main Batman title, he's doing anything but that. Like he doesn't have his money or his tools, but he's randomly getting access to tools, and it frustrates me.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's talk about somebody who actually came into some money. Nightwing, my personal favorite character in the Bat family. Dick Grayson's my guy. He's one of my top 5 characters, just period, in comic books.
100%. That's why we're friends, Wes. That's why we're friends.
Well, I didn't even know we were best friends. I guess we are.
I just listen to the channel and tell myself that. I'm like, man, we get along great. We have the same opinions.
So I like Tom Taylor as a writer at DC Comics, not as much at Marvel. I was a little bit worried about him on Nightwing. I don't think issue number 2 was great, but for the most part, it feels like he's got Nightwing back to where he should be. Barbara Gordon's back to being Oracle. There's almost a will they, won't they kind of thread going through there. It sounds like there's going to be some type of love triangle. I'm digging the dog. Hey, bringing a dog to the family, and I'm glad Dick Grayson's going to be the man in Bloodhaven again, because that Rick Grayson story arc is a story arc. It's just an era. It was so long.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It was a dumpster fire. I was actually excited when Tom Taylor was announced for Nightwing, because I feel like he captures emotions and heart very well, and I think that's so much of who Dick Grayson is. And then to find out that Barbara Gordon was going to be a major supporting character in the comic made sense to me. And excited me. I too prefer Tom Taylor at DC over Marvel. Marvel, he seems to just it almost seems like he doesn't have an editor to rein him in a little bit with some of his political views, and he gets a little too heavy-handed. And yeah, the Nightwing number 2 definitely fell into that, because I was reading it and going like, has Dick Grayson never met a homeless person before? Like, what is this?
And how's he getting pickpocketed?
Oh yeah. But I do appreciate, like, I got a laugh in issue 3 that it's now kind of like a running joke of we're never going to let you let this down. But I think the one thing that works really well here and kind of takes me back to the 90s and early 2000s is this ensemble of Dick and Barbara and him pulling in Tim. And it feels like they're actually a Bat family. They work together. They know each other. They're friends. And I don't feel like we've had that in a good while. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like seeing Tim Drake come back. And the cool thing, it hasn't really been explored yet and not utilized to its fullest, is I like Daredevil at Marvel. It's one of my favorite characters. It's in my top 3 Marvel characters. Definitely one of the great titles. And, that Kingpin figure just works so well with that kind of street-level character. And I think Blockbuster is going to work perfectly in Bloodhaven as the foil to Dick Grayson. And I cannot wait to see those two go at it. As far as the daughter of the man that killed his parents, we'll see how that goes. But I think Blockbuster is going to be great. I
agreed. I think one of the things that Tom Taylor's doing right is he's really playing into the legacy of these characters. And if you're familiar with Nightwing and previous publication histories of Nightwing, Blockbuster had a long-standing run as pretty much this Kingpin figure. But what Taylor's doing still feels fresh. It feels like a modern take. It's a little bit different, and I'm enjoying it. So same with the daughter. They've tapped this well a few times and haven't been too successful. We'll see how they do here, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. That's TBD. But for the most part, it feels like Nightwing has been right. We got essentially 2 years of just unreadable Nightwing books because it wasn't Nightwing, and it was. I'm glad to see things have gotten better. So there's a few other family books out there. I'm liking the Robin book from Williamson. Obviously, we've only got the one issue so far, but I like Mortal Kombat. Throwing Robin into a Mortal Kombat situation, he's so conceited and arrogant that it kind of fits for it.
Agreed. I love Damien as a character. I always refer to him as the little shit. But he's one of my favorites, and I'm happy he's getting his own book. I'm hit or miss with Williamson as a writer, but I really enjoyed this first issue. I like the characters that they're kind of bringing in, some of the B and C level characters, and the way the issue ended, I definitely was not expecting. So I'm interested. I'll be jumping to get the next issue.
So this is my only problem with that book.
Yep.
The art was fantastic. I like the Mortal Kombat aspect for it. There's even a fake Raiden in there. Cool. But like the one character offhandedly saying, "Yeah, I defeated Richard Dragon." Oh. And the one character's like, "We paid off Lady Shiva. I only had to beat so and so." It's like all the characters through like Batman mythology or even DC mythology who would be here for a tournament like this, they just conveniently wrote out to put in, I guess, newer, younger versions.
Agreed. It's something that DC seems to be big about right now, is creating this new wave of characters. And I mean, I get it. You want to have something fresh, but I always take issue with doing that at the expense of other characters. Like, there's better ways you could do it. And then you had the one character that was like, he beat Bronze Tiger, and they're like, "Did you cheat?" And he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, well, that already makes you a chump, man. Like, you're not a threat.
Yeah, it was just kind of, where's Deathstroke? I don't think he would send his daughter in like second-rate Deathstroke.
Right.
I think I did see Connor Hawke in there, I think that was pretty cool. I think I saw him twice. Yeah,
Connor Hawke seems to, I can't remember, maybe it was one of the backup stories from Batman, but I know that they're kind of setting him up to be one of the main threats. I think they had Raptor from the New 52 Nightwing stories. There were a few other people that looked familiar. They had Nightwing, Nite, Tad Ryerstad in there, which, I mean, that goes back to the Dixon run of Nightwing, but I kind of laughed at that. So
that's always nice to get Easter eggs. There's just a few characters. Once I realized what was happening, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get this and this," and I was like, "You read the one page, like, nope."
Yeah.
But I guess they had to do that.
I'm also a little concerned of like how many variations of the League of Assassins are we gonna get? League of Assassins, League of Shadows. What was this one? League of Lazarus. It's almost like, how many members are we going to add to the Bat family? How many members of the League of Assassins are we going to have? It's a little much, but I'm in it for now.
Yeah. So what else we got? Was there a Neil Adams Ra's al Ghul versus Batman? How was that one?
I read the first issue and said I'm not drunk or high or whatever enough for this. I don't do drugs, so but I quickly passed on reading others. We have a guy named Nick from the site, and he's a little fun and zany, and he's been reviewing it, and he's just like, he's enjoying how absurd it is, and I'm just like, you have fun with that, buddy. I'm good.
I read 2 issues of Neil Adams' Dead Man. I was like, I don't know if I'm reading any more Neil Adams written books. It's so weird and off the wall.
Yeah. I have utmost respect for Neil Adams as an artist. I think he's incredible. He definitely paved the way for comics in many ways. He did great things with Batman. He's a terrible writer. I say that with love.
Yeah, so there's a few other Batman associated characters. We got Catwoman out there under Ram V, one of my favorite writers.
Agreed.
I kind of like what he's doing with Alleytown. I thought his Catwoman 25 was a really good distillation of what he will do with the character and where he's going to take it. I really like the Future State book as well. So it feels like she's going to be a big part of it. I kept hearing Alleytown when I was reading all that Fear State, event series. It sounded like it's all going to, at least the beginning of it's going to be in Alleytown.
Oh, agreed. When they went into all this and Tynan was talking about his idea for the collective Bat books, he kept mentioning street level, taking it back to the street level. And I feel like the one book that's extremely successful in this is Catwoman. And there's just so many things that Ram V, I think, is getting right. Just as a writer, I think he's great. In terms of plotting, I think he's really strong. What he's doing with Selena and how he's kind of slightly incorporating all these different elements of the Bat stories into his book is a nice nod to what's going on, and it makes the universe feel collective. But I think it was in this last issue of Catwoman that he introduced Saint and everything that's going on with the Magistrate, and then Poison Ivy, her arc that's going to come into play as well. So I'm enjoying it. It's probably my favorite Bat book right now is Catwoman, and it's just how excellent he is as a writer.
Yeah, it's nice to have Ram V on one of these. Not a major character, but he's in the major, family of characters. And I don't know. Catwoman's not my favorite character. I think Tom King ruined her for me.
Look, there are aspects of Selena that I loved in Tom King's run, and then there's aspects that I completely hated. There was not a middle ground. It was love or hate, and especially towards the end, it was mostly just hate. But what Ram's doing kind of takes me back to the run in the early 2000s, and I'm blanking on names right now, but it's got that same kind of crime noir based element to it, and I, as a reader, I love that genre.
So it also sounds like we're getting a return of Poison Ivy, who we haven't really seen since Joker War. Sounds like we're also going to be getting Orphan and Spoiler as like the Batgirls. Feels like that they're setting something up for those. We are going to be getting Tim Drake returning. It sounds like he's going to be a big part of Fear State. Are you excited? Which one of those characters are you most excited to see kind of come back in the fold?
I'm a big Tim Drake fan, and I feel like he's been disserviced for so many years, but I'm also a huge Cassandra Cain fan. And I think both of them kind of are due their time. And honestly, this is kind of shift into Detective Comics, but Huntress, they really need to utilize Helena a little bit better. And I think it seems like they have plans to do so with these characters. I just hope that the execution matches. But
Tim Drake just got usurped by Damian Wayne.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back to Morrison's run, there was a lot of great things between Tim Drake and Damian that I really appreciated. And then when Tim became Red Robin for the first time, and you had Christopher Yost write that book, I thought it was by far the best that Tim had ever been. And then to suddenly go the complete 180 opposite direction with New 52 and kind of just trash him since. He's definitely due. This newer generation of comics needs to see why Tim Drake is loved so much. So I'm hoping they deliver.
So we forgot to talk about Detective Comics. We've got Dan Mora on art. We've got Mariko Tamaki. I thought her Dark Detective, as far as the Batman books in Future State, I think it was the second best right after Catwoman. And it was Robin Eternal. I thought was good too. There's a few good books. Even the Nightwing book in there was pretty decent. But she's certainly a better writer than she showed it at Marvel.
Agreed.
And, people are enjoying the Detective Comics a little bit more. And Victor Bogdanovich coming on as like the other Detective Comics artist. Like, that is hot.
Agreed. 100%. Like, I love Dan Mora, and I love the work he's doing. But Bogdanovich is probably one of my favorite artists. And him coming on, like, hell yeah, I'm super excited.
So what do you think about the Detective Comics? Is it still overshadowed by the Magistrate, or is Tamaki making it her own story?
I feel like she's making it her own story because she doesn't seem to be too focused on the Magistrate themselves. She's really kind of playing into Nakano's storyline and just the realistic ideas of what Bruce is going through as a character. And anytime you delve into Bruce, I'm pretty much there. I tend to lean towards character work, and she seems to want to pursue that. So I think it's the Worth family, and that murder mystery is set up and moving. And there's some other elements coming into play as well that I appreciate and I'm invested in. I kind of wish they would just nix the Batman book and just run with detectives if I'm being honest.
So for you, that's the Batman book is Detective Comics right now.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another Batman out there. His name's Jace Fox. We're getting, the next Batman second son. It's going to be transitioning into this next series called I Am Batman. John Ridley has been the head of the character. It started out, next Batman in Future State was better than I anticipated, but he put so many plot threads in there by the end, like he was never going to be able to have a satisfying conclusion. And it kind of fell apart for me in the end. So, and also having Jace Fox be Batman while Bruce Wayne is still the Batman in Gotham, I don't know how you're going to make that work because we already saw the first time they ever saw each other.
Yeah.
Like, were they good? Like, they're going to take halves of the city?
I don't know. I think they kind of backed themselves into a corner with this and didn't fully plan this out. I think for Future State, they had an idea for this Black Batman, and I support that. Why not? I think it's a good direction to go for a potential storyline. And if they had continued in a Future State setting with this story, I would have been all for it. But I think trying to shoehorn him into the main continuity and storyline is a bit much. because you create, plot problems and you've got holes and then continuity.
They literally
errors
can't help each other out. They're not supposed to ever see each other.
Yeah, like it's just weird. How they're probably going to write some ridiculous way to make it work, and people will scream and yell, and we'll move on. And I mean, we're in this whole like everything happened, but at the same time, I guess nothing happened. If that's the case as well, so who knows? They just, I don't know.
And that name, I Am Batman, just doesn't work for me. It's like,
no,
not yet. You're not yet.
No, not at all. And
Yeah,
and I just want to say too, like, I think it's a cheap tactic to bring in a character and make them Batman to try to boost them up, because I feel like whatever you do after that is only going to feel like it's less. So had they brought Jason and made him like a different character name and let him be a total badass and show that he's capable and show that he has a place, I think it would have served him long term much better.
Well, they already have a couple of characters, in Batwing, in the Signal. They introduce them and then they just give up on them.
Oh, agreed. We talk about this a lot too at the site, especially as far as Duke is concerned, because I thought he started off as a character with a lot of promise, and then it was just like one day they decided like, here's the golden child, he's gonna usurp everyone else, he's the next best thing. None of Batman's allies can handle this, it has to be Duke. And I think, again, when you try to build up a character at the expense of other characters, you're destined to fail. And DC just doesn't seem to figure that out. And, so many people think people reject Duke or maybe Jace because, he's black. And for me, that's not the case. For me, it's just like, build this character up, but don't do it at the expense of all these legacy characters.
They got to find their own place organically within the
agreed.
family.
And you have to be careful that if you're creating a character, you don't make it another version of an already existing character. Tynan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's talk about Batman the White Knight universe. I think Sean Gordon Murphy's got one of the coolest corners. Maybe I might like Deceased better.
Oh, yeah.
I think Deceased is off the chart, but the art and storytelling in Batman White Knight are fantastic. The Duke Thomas in there, I think, is a very good idea of where his place could be there. Obviously, it's a little bit different than the regular Batman continuity. Are you excited for the Murphyverse? Where do you want him to explore? We know we saw Jason Todd. I guess he came in army fatigues at the end of the last story.
Yep.
Are you as excited for that as I am?
I am. Like, I think since the first White Knight series came out, I've kind of been describing White Knight as a love letter to the Batman universe, and I think it still feels that way. For me, I feel like Sean is kind of approaching these characters as like what feels like a natural progression for these characters. So Harley, I'm not a fan of Harley Quinn, and I love Harley in this run. Duke, I blatantly said multiple times, this is the best version of Duke Thomas that's in Batman comics. We need to use it. I did enjoy Duke in Outsiders, but for me, like what Sean Gordon Murphy did with Duke should be the standard for Duke Thomas. And I'm excited. I want to see what he does. I want to see what other characters he plays with, and see what he brings to the table. Because for me, it's just a lot of fun.
So do you want it to stay just Gotham and, Batman characters, Batman mythos, or do you want him to expand the White Knight universe to have a Superman or a Wonder Woman or maybe a Green Arrow, maybe another street level character?
I think for now, let's stick with Batman, because I think, there's already a lot that he's got to kind of wrap his hands around with this, and maybe another one or two trades or series of Batman, and then if you want to start incorporating things. But I would do it like almost like a backdoor pilot, like have another character come in to one of these Batman stories
for
and
an
have
appearance.
them feature. Yeah,
acknowledge that they're out there.
Agreed. And then kind of go that route, because then you can test the waters. If you have a different take on Superman or Wonder Woman, if it hits with people, then it's like, great, cool, let's move forward with these plans. If not, you don't have a book that's gonna bomb.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to you. My dream Batman book basically happened in Nightwing under Michael Moriarty. It's Nightwing, Arsenal, and Damian Wayne is like a little team up, like a street level team. I loved that one shot that he did. I thought the dynamics of Dick Grayson is kind of the figurehead, the older brother figure, and Damian and Roy Harper kind of bickering back and forth, and Dick kind of trying to play a peacemaker between the two. But when they get together, they're absolutely a lethal force. I just loved it. I was like, this should be a team book.
Oh, 100%. And I'm kind of hoping there's a lot of synergy with the Bat books right now, kind of outside of the main Batman line. And I want to see more of that. But yeah, that issue in particular, I loved. Marici did a couple of like one shots for different titles.
He's the best guy at one shots. They bring him in for a villain, and it's like, he gets the character.
It was to the point that I think I reviewed 2 or 3 different one shots that he did, and I was just like in my reviews, just like wanting to scream, "Why aren't you putting this guy on a regular run? Like, just give him an opportunity," because he just kept knocking it out of the park. So and why they haven't tapped him for more, I don't know. I really don't, but they need to, because
I know he's doing some Star Wars stuff, and he's got some Vault comics, but man. Like, he got these DC characters, these kind of side characters. You know, they don't have to be the best selling, but he can go and flesh characters out. And then when you bring them into the mainline Batman book, they could be doing some cool stuff.
Agreed. And maybe, you know, with we have Urban Legends and some of these other kind of collected issues, maybe we'll get to see more of him, and they'll give him another like run, maybe 3, 4, 6 issue, something that he can kind of expand on a little bit and do more than a one shot.
I would love that. So is there a Batman book that in your mind we're due for, or you would just love to see that, you know, obviously isn't in production right now?
I mean, I think what you're talking about with having the, you know, family all kind of cooperate together, if you had a Gotham Knights series, it could definitely be gangbusters, and it gives you a chance to focus on supporting characters without it necessarily being a one shot. I will, if I were ever asked to write a character, I would definitely go with Huntress. Personally, I think there's a lot of things to her, especially if you go with her previous publications, going back to the '89 when Helena Bertinelli was first introduced, how they wrote the character, and then even what Tom King did with the character for Grayson. I think there's so much untapped potential that is different and unique from every other Bat character that I'd love to play with. But Gotham Knights, man, why not?
That's my biggest complaint with Tynan. Even though, you know, it feels repetitive on stuff that we've already seen, he's introducing all these new characters, and there's so many characters that aren't being used right now, and a lot of times they're not carbon copies, but they're just filling a role for a character that already exists. You know, Punchline is Harley Quinn. Ghostmaker is kind of like Hush, you know, long lost best friend from when he was a kid. You know, the Gardener is kind of like Poison Ivy. We're getting a Riddler Joker mashup character that's got the hat and is maniacal. And it's like, come on, these are, you know, we got Lady Bane in Vengeance. We got the new Court of Owls leader. It's like, these characters exist. Let's start using the stuff that's already there. But I get it that it gets eyes on the book and draws more readers in, as you know, a lot of speculators kind of looking for those first appearances. But it kind of leaving all these cool characters on the wayside. Yeah,
I mean, like, I feel like all these characters that are getting created are definitely like a combination of a cash grab because the industry understands what's going on. I think also, you know, there's a whole toy market out there that could benefit from the statues as well. And I think they're kind of looking towards that instead of the story itself. And from a narrative standpoint, you know, I think when you have a new character, you have to look and ask, what purpose does this character have? And these characters to me don't really have a purpose other than like, here is a unique version or a diverse. It seems like it's mainly for diversity than anything else. And you know, I'm all for look. I'm a gay man, so I'm all for diversity, but don't do it for the sake of diversity. Just create a diverse character that's different. So
they need to serve a new function, right?
yeah. Like I don't want to see a diverse character just so you can have a diverse character there. To me, that's cheap and, you know, pandering. And I want a good character that's going to actually serve a good representation.
So I've enjoyed this conversation. Inevitably, we missed something, a thing or two within the Batman universe. There's so much Batman stuff right now within the comics.
Oh man.
You know, that it was going to be hard to hit it all. I do apologize to any of the viewers out there if we missed your favorite book or whatever. Josh, is there anything else that you wanted to say as we kind of wrap this up? I knew this was going to be a long conversation because there's so much Batman to talk about.
There's so much Batman. Yeah, I mean, like I could talk, you know, spend an hour discussing each one of these books. Just in general, you know, I do knock Tynan a lot as a writer. And I'm not fond of his Batman books, but I will say that as an architect, he seems to be doing some solid things. You know, not everything's going to hit. But if you look at the role that he's playing with all of these titles, there's some good work being done. And
Oracle's
you know,
back.
Oracle's
Grayson
back.
Nightwing back.
Agreed. You know,
we're seeing Drake.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, Catwoman's readable for the first time in years. I mean, Joel Jones did a solid job, but just as a title on its own, like I haven't enjoyed that book in forever. You know, Nightwing's back to being good. Detective is doing some interesting things. It feels relevant. We're getting the best Jason Todd work we've had in a long time. Tim Drake is back. If you're a Bat fan, there's a lot to be excited about. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, just not the Batman book.
All right. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Of course, dude. Thank you.